Good morning, everyone. Okay. So, the Vulnerability Analysis and Mapping Unit, also known as VAM, is the Food Security Analysis and Trends Service for the United Nations World Food Programme. At WFP in VAM, we collect and analyze many different types of data in order to answer key questions on food security. The answers to these questions are very important because they drive the programmatic decision making within the organization. I'm Sarah Muir, and I'm an Earth observation analyst within VAM. What's that, you say? Basically, I analyze satellite imagery and collect and analyze, and that feeds into one of these decision-making processes. So jumping back a little bit, United Nations World Food Programme is the world's largest food assistance humanitarian organization, and we are present in 83 countries across the globe. In order to meet our objectives of saving lives in emergencies and changing lives for the millions through sustainable development, we really need accurate, reliable, and timely data and information. So before intervening in a country, WFP has to understand a few things about the food security situation on the ground. So being food secure means that there is available access at all times to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food in order to maintain a healthy and active life. To be able to provide the adequate assistance, WFP must answer several questions that are summarized here. We need to know who is food insecure, why are they food insecure, how many people there are, where they're located, what's the most appropriate type of assistance that we should provide them, so whether it's in-kind food assistance or possibly cash-based transfers. And also, we need to understand how is the situation likely to develop without intervention and how it could be improved with our intervention. So this process of answering all of these questions is called vulnerability analysis and mapping. And there are a number of tools that we use within this unit to answer the questions. So these are the same questions that we have been answering within the unit since its inception, but the way that we answer the questions, the data that we use, and how we share that information, that's what's changed. And we have many more innovative approaches and tools that we're now implementing. So now I'm just going to play a short video for you that explains and demonstrates one of these tools. It's called MVAM, which is Mobile Vulnerability Analysis and Mapping.
Nestling in the shadow of Nyiragongo volcano, Mugunga 3, one of a number of displaced persons camps near Goma in the war-torn east of the Democratic Republic of Congo. This is the setting for a unique mobile telephone survey about food security being conducted by the United Nations World Food Programme. It's important to know if people are getting enough food to survive and that food assistance is going to those who need it most. One of the 300 participants in the survey is Agnes Nienzira, a widow whose husband was killed in fighting in their home province of Masisi. She fled to Mugunga with 6 children 5 years ago. Her youngest was born in the camp.
Tulikuwa kwetu Masisi, kugekuya FDLS iliingia kwetu, njoo kugekuya vita sirikuwa, wakituingilia munyumba, wakeua bandugu yangu basaba, na mimi wakenipika masasi ya mumukono na mwai na ringine ya muguru, wote wagekufa, mie njoo niliponaka.
Because of her injuries, Agnes now struggles to walk. Once a month, she gets a call from a World Food Programme operator who asks questions about what she and her children have been eating and how they have been coping when short of food. Every few days, she gets her mobile recharged for free. The phone, her first ever, was given to her by the World Food Programme. This project, also being conducted in Somalia, is leading the way in remote data collection about food consumption and coping strategies amongst the displaced.
Mina wazaga sawa naniulizaga vyenye si yakula mina sikiaga buroho. Wananiambia mina kulaga mayai, mina sema sikulage mayai, mina ikumbuka juu nilikuwa naikula zamani. Sawa naniambia nilikunya maziwa, mina sikia buroho. Yote sivipataki.
As a disabled, single head of household, Agnes qualifies for food assistance from the World Food Programme. Every month, Agnes and other vulnerable people in the camp get a ration of maize and other commodities. To supplement this, Agnes does labouring jobs in nearby farms. With the money she earns, she can buy food in a local market. One of the benefits of taking part in the survey is that Agnes gets US 50 cents airtime credit after each questionnaire. She can then call her relatives in Masisi or anyone else.
Ilinisaidia sana juu busiku mtoto ananyambaga sitachoka mina wakisha torushi mina angazia sana gonjwa mina angazia mina enda kudawa pale kudispa na torushi sitaenda mugiza njoo ilinisaidia sana.
The survey calls are made from the World Food Programme office in Goma. Automated voice calls are also being used. The advantage of these is that they can be made during the weekend when staff are not working and when respondents may have more time. One of the things that makes this system special is that the data is available in real time.
What we've learned is that mobile technology is a very effective means of contacting this population in Mugunga 3 camp. It's cheap, it's quick, it's flexible. We're talking to people who are not necessarily in the camp, not necessarily in their homes, and we're able to reach them through the phones that they have.
Security permitting, some displaced people are returning to their home villages. For the moment, however, Agnes's relatives in Masisi are telling her that she and the children are safer staying put in the camp.
Okay. So that gives you some insight into one of the tools that we use to collect some food security information. We also have other data streams. This includes economic analysis. So we have a team of people that monitor and collect food price data at all the WFP markets around the world. So we can understand, if there's high levels of inflation as well, maybe the cost of the food is too expensive and it's inaccessible that way for the local communities to purchase food. We also have other approaches. So our traditional method of collecting food security data is through household surveys and face-to-face, in-person surveys, where we send out an enumerator to a local village, to a camp, and we ask them questions about their food security situation. And then, of course, through the mobile collection of information. Then lastly, we have through remote sensing, and this is collecting information on, let's say, rainfall and vegetation trends through satellite imagery analysis. So each of these existing data streams by themselves, they're already quite powerful. But it's when we bring them all together that we really see the added benefit. And we do this using Tableau. So here I have an example for you. This is a dashboard of WFP's emergency food security assessment in the 3 states in northeastern Nigeria. So this dashboard takes data from these different data streams and summarizes it and presents it into this dashboard. What really makes this possible is the user-friendliness of Tableau. I mentioned before that WFP were present in 83 countries. That's a lot of WFP field staff who are collecting data and have to systematically put it together and share it in a consistent, reliable way. And Tableau makes this possible. Standardizing some of the processes behind this have really made this possible. So if we can just, I don't know how clear it is from the screen, but I'll highlight a few things. So one of the questions that we want to answer is how many people are food insecure. So right away in this dashboard, we can see, if you look at the far side of the slide, we can see straight away that 23%, I can't quite see, 23% of the population in that area have a poor food consumption score. We can also see that in that area, around 20% of the people, they spend more than 75% of their household expenditure on food alone. I mean, could you imagine spending 75% of your income just on food, on the basic needs? Another question that we need to answer as part of VAM is, where are they located? So this brings us to the panel in the middle where we have the map. So this highlights the areas where the population is most food insecure. So having this visual way, this spatial way of showing where our beneficiaries are really helps us to target physically where to send assistance. So we do also have other tools that we use, some custom developed tools to visualize some of the data that we're collecting. So I mentioned before from satellite data, we look at rainfall and vegetation trends. So on the far side on the plot, you can see rainfall and NDVI anomalies. NDVI is just a fancy term for vegetation health or vigor. And we can quickly assess by looking at this chart, okay, in the middle of the year, the rainfall is way above average. So maybe there could be flooding in that location. And then towards the end of the year, it's below the red line there. So there's some rainfall deficits, so potentially drought conditions. So this is just a really useful way for quickly summarizing and visualizing some of the trends in that area. The other map highlights market locations in Mali. And again, just a quick visual way to identify the markets that are in crisis. Some other tools that we have and that we use in VAM are two-way communication tools. So this enables us to share information back to our beneficiaries through low-cost or free websites. So they can go to these websites. They're charged very little or nothing at all to access this through their provider. And they can get information on market prices, for example. But in the same way, we're also empowering them back that they can feed into it and they can also give feedback to us and provide input, and then we collect that data. So all these data streams have to be managed and structured in a certain way. So data governance, so we have a certain standardization and a core database that WFP colleagues can access and feed into. And then we also have a standard way to disseminate this information. So it's all well and good that we can collect all this data from the field, but again, the real value is how do we then share that information back to the decision makers who need that. So again, Tableau has allowed us to standardize some of these approaches. So how it works, we have a centralized database and the custom-built visualizations and also the user-built visualizations from Tableau can connect to this database. WFP, how the organization works, it's kind of a tier. So we have headquarters at the top, then we have our 6 regional bureaus underneath that, and then below that we have all of our country offices, and there's a different reporting structure for each. So at the country office level, they can take the data that they have collected, and they can produce their own visualizations. They can explore the data by themselves, and then share that back to the regional bureau for approvals. Once it's been edited, approved at that level, it's a very simple process with Tableau and with this system for HQ to then approve it and publish it and share it. And it really improves the efficiency of this process of sharing data and information in a timely way. So one of the challenges that we trying to address is we have all these different data streams and we want to integrate them together. So we have our new integrated platform for hunger analytics. This is a hub where you can access all the information required on or necessary for food security analysis. We have the Seasonal Explorer, where you can explore the rainfall and vegetation trends, our Economic Explorer, and we also have interactive reporting. So quickly, we can take a look at inflation prices for your area of interest. We can understand the rates of acute malnutrition in children in a particular location. And we can also understand what's happening with the agricultural growing season. You know, is a drought condition in this region? Are they able to continue to produce crops, or are they also in a rainfall deficit, for example? So we bring it all together in one location. So finally, so my presentation is very short today. I think this is my last slide. This is an example from our Hunger Analytics Hub, where you can go by country and view the summary information by country. So Yemen, for example, is a level 3 emergency. So for those of you not familiar, level 3 is a highest state of emergency within the UN system. We can see straight away that the population in the country is almost 28 million, and of that 28 million, 17 million are severely food insecure. We can also delve into this further and look at the acute malnutrition rates, the stunting within children, which is almost at 50% for Yemen, and then we can also analyze things such as the import dependencies and so forth. And we can also have a snapshot at the food consumption there. So just to reiterate, the great power of this is bringing all these different data streams together that once used to be independent and separated, bring them together and painting a comprehensive view of what is happening in the food security situation in that location. And that's all. And that's a very, very short and sweet presentation for today. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Yes. You're welcome. Yes, we are, and I think we're looking, the data scientists on the team are looking to develop that further. That I don't know, but I can hook you up with my colleagues at HQ that have that information. Yes?
Hi, thanks for the presentation. Could you elaborate a little bit on how you set up the creation of
Okay, that I can't answer in too much detail, but we do have, so we have like a corporate license for Tableau, and we do have it set up for server, and it's in a very standardized way. Yeah, I can't go into too much detail on that. Do you have? Yes, if you can. My colleague is here and can answer much better than myself.
Just so I can hear, I'd like to take this podium. So WFP, we work very closely with Tableau Foundation, and we're lucky in that we have Tableau server on premise, and we also have about roughly 350 to 400 desktop licenses that are being used globally. This is a big challenge for us to manage that level of disparate use of the tool, because as Sarah talked about, the country offices need to do analysis, and they need to do analysis on emergency operations. So in order for us sitting in Rome, where our HQ is, to keep up with what's happening in the field, it's almost impossible. In fact, they're generally leading on the data analysis front way faster than anything corporate can help establish. So under my team, which is we're part of the data program, we actually sit under the IT division. And what we're doing is we're trying to scale up our ability to train field users on Tableau, but at the same time, we're building the technology infrastructure to bring as much corporate data to them. So instead of using a lot of Excel files, CSVs, the types of files that they're used to handling on USB sticks, what we're trying to do is ramp up our corporate published data sources. And in that, when I joined WP not too long ago, it was really, we're on the journey to create a corporate data lake. And with that comes a lot of data governance, a lot of issues, and in this particular case, Sarah's group working on vulnerability analysis would be a consumer of the data that we're going to be publishing in that data lake. And then all the other country office data sources that we're hoping to bring in would be part of that as well. So it's a very long project, but in the meantime, what we do is we really try to, in the regional bureaus, put data analysts who can go out and train. And we find that we have to train small groups. We usually train them on a solution-oriented output. So we're not going to train you just on Tableau fundamentals. We're going to come in, find out what your business questions are, help build that with you, and then release it. So that's part of our style to help train trainers. It's a tough effort, but it's really worthwhile. And we see that teams like BAM are already well advanced using Tableau, but there are other parts of our large organization that aren't there yet. So I hope that answers some of your questions.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah?
Just maybe a quick follow-up question.
Yeah.
So what are the experiences you have with the feedback from the local teams? Do they ask for help, or do they have like more advanced dashboards? You mentioned something about that the data is there on a higher level, and then at the regional level you would do own analysis, and they need like specific reports. Do they do this by themselves, or
It depends on the team.
feedback
Yeah, it depends on the team, because obviously in organizations like ours, country offices and HQ don't always have the best relationships. But we have some business units that are standardizing their KPIs. And when they standardize their KPIs, they can create dashboards wherein data comes from countries can feed that. In some cases, it's the local country or the regional KPIs that we need to somehow, consolidate or collaborate on. And that's something we're in the middle of doing. And it depends on the area of business. So for BAM, they're very well streamlined and far ahead. Say in our M&E practice or in our cash-based transfer practice, we're trying to build this culture of data analytics more broadly. So yeah, that's kind of the broad answer.
Thanks. You can stay up and stay or dive off the stage.
That's our dive off the stage.
just say we're trying to build this culture of data.
That's right.
How are you doing this? Because my experience is that like getting the dashboard to work is the easy part.
Sure.
Getting people to use them is the hard part. So I would like to hear like what you're trying
Give it a purpose break. Okay, that's a really good question. One of the challenges that I've noticed, and again, I'll caveat this, I joined WFP 4 months ago, and I came from the World Bank, which had a completely different operating model. And when you have an operating model where 14,000 of your field staff trump the 2,000 people in HQ, you can imagine the data literacy challenges there, the training challenges, and to try to scale that is very, very challenging. So could you just repeat your question one more time, just so I don't go off the rails?
How do you
Okay. So we started with the most humblest of beginnings, which is create a community around analytics. So we have an analytics entry point, a portal. We call it analytics.wfp.org. That's for staff. And what we started to do there was at least give people resources to get started. There's no really great formal onboarding program at WFP for people who are data enthusiasts. It's just, it's driven often by countries and people who are ready to run. So we said, look, we got to take some best practices we're already seeing. We should encourage champions in those areas, right? And we should give them a platform. So we created a Data Fellows program after talking to Lee Feinberg, who's one of the Zens who's here. And we decided to say, okay, what are the most critical resources we should be producing just from a documentation perspective, videos on training. We sometimes come to the conclusion that people need to be somehow trained in Excel sometimes first before we get to them to the point where we can get them in Tableau. So you have the range of ability, and what we're really trying to do is, again, try to find those hubs where this activity is going really well, borrow from that, let them lead, because at least from the IT perspective, we're always, said you shouldn't have IT kind of leading some of these areas. It should be what's really happening on the ground and coming from the business. So it has to be a partnership between the business and IT. And what IT is supporting in the areas that we're looking at are things like GDPR considerations. We collect a lot of data on people. What should we be making sure we set up and pay attention to? And that's, again, a policy guidance that has to come from the business team and the areas of program in our organization, which is really, really large. We've now created a data management committee, which is focused on data governance, for example, and these are terms that are new to some parts of the organization, but everybody knows that we have to pay attention to it. So getting that executive level buy-in was the first step, and then came some funding, then came the creation of a data team, then creation of a data lake. So it's slow, but it's coming, and I see that when we concentrate on those teams that are really ready, it works. I'm an optimist, so yeah. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes, please.
With all the data you have and using Tableau, are you able to proactively highlight the areas that will be food insecure?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, especially when you're looking at the satellite imagery, you can get like a hotspot area that could be drought prone, and then you can overlay that with the food security numbers, so you really can narrow it down. And having this dashboard is like very valuable for summarizing those key observations.
Yeah.
For your mapping that you were just talking about, are you using the built-in stuff within Tableau, or are you kind of using some other things in collaboration with it, or?
So we're using other open source tools to complement it.
Could you share what those are?
No, I cannot because I don't know.
I think you guys are using QGIS and ESRI.
Oh, for for the software behind that?
Yeah.
Okay, so for the satellite getting the anomalies, we have an in-house built system that we download, process, and produce these maps. Actually, it's updated on our portal every 10 days. So that's for rainfall and for vegetation. Yes. So, and then we have other visualization tools as well, but for that portal, it's in-house developed approach.
Do you guys do that, ma'am?
Yes, it's publicly available. So the way we view it is the World Food Programme is a publicly funded organization. Therefore, it's our duty to make these things available as a public good. Of course, we have to protect certain information behind that, so that doesn't get put on the platform. But everything else, we try to put out there what we can, and it's all. If you Google the VAM shop, you will find everything there. Okay. I think that's all. Okay, well, thank you so much for your attention.